Part 59. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 582. May 83 Horse Chief. Da. A string of horseshoes came, and in the moonlight, a unicorn stepped into the air. This unicorn is slightly thinner than the last fire unicorn that Ecchi dealt with, and it feels a bit like a horse, but it is covered with armor like gold scales. A single horn on its head flashes 7 colored lights, and its 4 hoofs are circled. White hair, although stepping in the void, there are clear horseshoe sounds. This is a very beautiful and imposing monster. Definitely a beast. Seeing such a beast, there will be a kind of wonder from my heart. It is too beautiful. If you can ride it around, it is worth the death. But in this world, who can ride it? It is not a toy. He is a real beast, the most noble breed among the beasts. Its power are also amazing. As a beast, it has a powerful destiny spell. It's so beautiful. This unicorn Cloud Hooflin can't imagine that it really exists in the world. I thought it was fabricated in ancient legends. Wang Tingxi's eyes were full of little stars, and he couldn't wait to hug the beast. Don't go, be careful. Ecchi hurriedly pulled Wang Tingxi behind him. No matter how good looking it was, it didn't make much sense to him. Wang Tingxi didn't dare to go, but the unicorn Yunhelin actually came over and stood in front of Ecchi, looking at Ecchi with a pair of big gem-like eyes. Seemingly not malicious, Ecchi quickly said, "Hello unicorn, you must not know me, but you must know one of my acquaintances. She is a blonde cloud hoof and her nickname is a beast. She is very famous." Oh, unicorn Yunhelin snorted impatiently, and flew out a nonsense man who was in trouble. God, beasts are really powerful. A sneeze knocked me off. You and your ancestors, it's just this face that's drooling. Ecchi stood still, looked up again, and saw that the beast had gracefully approached Wang Tingxi, snorted softly, and then allowed Wang Tingxi to hold his head. Not only Ecchi looked dumbfounded, but the werewolves who were preparing to attack also looked dumbfounded. Gods and beasts didn't need to take a shot, and the momentum had already crushed them. But no offense and no, the beast master of his own family is still behind. Looking at these nasty guys before leaving, the unicorn Yunhelin looked up and roared again, "Ang!" But the previous call was different. The voice was clearly violent, but this roar made Ecchi seem to see the scene of countless monks killing him. And those birds, monsters, werewolves, have all been scared and fainted, disregarding the orders of their bosses, turned back and ran, and walked clean. Immediately, the male and female beasts hidden in the darkness also softened, and issued a low, soft roar, motioning to bow their heads. Mountain forest, once again restored to silence. It's really pretty. While Wang Tingxi hugged the unicorn Cloud Hooflin's head, Ecchi also stroked its slippery scales. If you can ride this thing back to Kangnan, it is estimated that the monks in the late Yuanying period must have green eyes. It's so handsome, major female nuns, it must have taken the initiative to give up. All the major men's trainings must also change jobs and join the mixed UN zone. The purpose is to see the unicorn Cloud Hoof style. If I ride this thing to Lingyao Mountain to marry Ruolin, wow, how much more shocking the scene is, how many people watch. Someone had already begun to think about something good, and he didn't realize that this beast was not intimate with him. People like Wang Tingxi, it has nothing to do with you as a black man. Wan Daiyu, why don't you tell it, let's ride it around, Ecchi suggested again. Wang Tingxi nodded and just wanted to speak, but a man sneered above him. People from the netherworld, you are waiting for this superb beast? If you want to die, you will ride and try. Ecchi was startled, and a man stood on top of himself, without realizing it. Even if the monk in the late Yuanying period teleported, it was still windy, and it was impossible to be so unaware. If this person attacked himself, he might have died prematurely. Ecchi quickly looked up, and saw a man in a loose robe, dragging a pair of clogs with his feet, standing above the sky. This person is not young, and in his 50s, the first half of his forehead is shaved, and the second half of his head has a short puppet. How it looks like a rogue of some wicked nation on earth. Looking at his cultivation, Xianxia turned out to be mortal. But Yekong didn't believe that this was immortal. In this remote Kangbei, a person flying in the air would be immortal? Hello, what are you doing? Yekong busy greeted in standard Japanese. The old guy waved his hand. Use common language, don't use dialect birds, I don't understand. Isn't bird language what you love to say? Yekong Kwan slurped a sentence, and then said, below is Kangnan mixed un suzerain Yekong. I have seen the seniors, but I do nt know what the seniors call them. Wang Tingshi couldn't come to the door. He heard Yekong's name very familiar but he couldn't remember it, and thought Yekong used a fake name. And the old Ronin frowned, when can the people in Kangnan come over? But a ruling lord, Zi Kang seeing is so bad. Yekong hurriedly said, we don't know, we are fighting with people, and here we are hit by others. What he said was true. At that time, he was called to Kangnan by the palm of his hand. The old man muttered, it's so amazing, then he didn't think about it, and said, well, now that you come to Kangbei, let's live well, quack, I want that girl. Yekong didn't expect the old man to be so shameless. He patted his storage bag, took out Jingguanjiao, and said angrily, the two of us came together, naturally we must go back together, and the seniors must not force us to do it. The old man sneered, just because you want to do it with me too? You're really dazed. Give your husband's name for you to listen to. The old man is His Majesty the Eastern Emperor's Mansion, 18 Pinxian, General Manager of the 9th Ranch, Horseman, Medium Jinxian, Jianben Yamamoto. Yekong fainted. I didn't expect this old guy to dress up like a native of the island, and even his name was astonished. However, no matter what, people are immortals, and they are just a cultivator who hasn't been getting started for a long time. The levels are much different, so be honest. Wang Tingshi was also shocked. I didn't expect to meet the immortals. The ultimate goal of the cultivation of the immortals is not to rise to immortals? Wang Tingshi hurriedly said, the predecessors have already cultivated into immortals, but they are immortal bodies. In the lower Wang Tingshi, they are the vulgar powder of the lower realm. Yamamoto Jianren said, of course you don't deserve me. After I got promoted, I was going to marry a fairy. However, staying alone in this vast and unpopular Kangbei was really boring and lonely. It was not bad for a woman from the nether to let me play and relieve boredom. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 583. 584 Jinxian Mountain. This is just the thought in his heart. He didn't say it, but waved his hand. The nun, you misunderstood, the old man doesn't want you and me. It's the unicorn cloud hoof, it just likes to be with pure women. You are still a virgin, you will be responsible for taking care of its food and slipping in the future. When you mature it, the old man will have a reward. Yekong then realized that the old man was asking Wang Tingshi to be his pet nanny. But even in this case, they couldn't agree. They and Wang Tingshi still waited for the channel to open, so they could go back. Yekong decided to give first and then to soldiers, and said with a smile, I never thought that this beast would be an immortal. This is the Eastern Emperor's mansion. Don't say anything, shouted Yamamoto. I know, the horse breeder, and the horse breeder. We have heard that it is not a horse stallion in the fairyland. But even if it is a horse breeder, it is an immortal after all, Yekong said. I can't imagine that this beast was raised by Xianxia. In fact, we really want to help the immortal, but my two family members are in Kangnan, and my heart is worried about home care. I dare not stay here for a long time, so we still have to go back, There are thousands of pure virgins in this world. Please ask our predecessors to find other people and let us go. Thank you very much. Yamamoto Jianren laughed and laughed. Actually, when I captured this girl and went back, I didn't need to talk to you too much, but lest you say that my husband is bullying, and he bullies the lower juniors, I will explain it to you. Go north 10,000 miles are the ranch of the Eastern Emperor. The old man has stayed here for 200 years and has never seen anyone. Further north, that is where the demons are. Even if the old men dare not go there, they are caught by the demons. Let you be hopeless, and die. There is an eternal barrier between Kangnan and Kangbei, let alone you, even the immortals cannot pass by, so girl child, you still go back to the old husband to serve this unicorn cloud hoof, and wait for the adult to do the errand. May be good for you, maybe it will take you to the fairyland. What do you think? Wang Tingshi still shook her head. Although going to the fairyland is the pursuit of every fairy cultivator, but to make her do so, she is still unwilling. What's more, the old man said so nicely, but his eyes blinked. How could he take it seriously? Yamamoto Jianren was a little annoyed, and said angrily, don't be ignorant. If you don't, I will kill the men first and then the women, and let your spirits dissipate. Yekong blocked in front of Wang Tingshi, and said lightly, in that case, try it. Since Yekong took her to Kangbei, she will definitely take her back. Even the fairy, you can't stop it? Yekong's hand has already been clasped with a sublime amulet made of inferior high-end symbol paper. He hasn't tried the power of this amulet. If he can hurt the fairy, he doesn't know. Probably no use. But at the moment, how can he flinch? Because of him, Wang Tingshi came to the Kangbei continent. How could he leave Wang Tingshi at this moment and return alone? There can be thousands of reasons to escape, but there is only one reason for fighting. Knowing that you will die, you have to fight? I don't pay attention to these little tricks, Yamamoto Kenran snorted. Let you see the power of the fairy. Power of heaven. When Yamamoto raised his hand, there was no flash, no air waves, nothing. It's like raising an ordinary hand. However, Yekong and Wang Tingshi felt that there were countless huge forces around their bodies, and they wanted to tear their bodies apart, and they had no ability to resist, and could not even move their fingers. Yamamoto Jianren beckoned again, and the undead blaster held in Yekong's hand had flew to him. Huh, it's ridiculous that a subordinate high-order charm also wants to hurt me. Yamamoto Kenran tore the magic burst into pieces. Wang Tingshi felt loose and shouted, Senior, if you kill him, I won't live. I won't feed you the beast, you kill us. There was a flash of anger in Yamamoto's eyes, but it was annoying to think that he was serving the beast every day, and the beast was disobedient. He ran around with him all day. If there is a woman she likes to take care of, he can just be quiet. Well, I'll make a final step back, Yamamoto said. Boy, if you're alone in this continent, the final end is to become the food of the monster's womb. The old man sees you poor and agrees with you. Come back with me. The girl raises the beast, and you plant me a fairy field, and it's done well, naturally rewarding. If you want to run away with betrayal, I took your soul for thousands of years, let you know what is pain. After Yamamoto Jianren said that, without asking them for permission, he raised his hand directly, picked up Wang Tingshi, and said, follow me. Yamamoto Jianren walked very fast, neither teleporting nor flying, but walking like an ordinary person, but he could step over a few hundred miles without knowing what the magic was. Yekong almost chased after his effort and lost several times. Fortunately, Yamamoto found that he couldn't keep up and waited, otherwise Yekong didn't know where to find him. Huh, you still want to work hard with me at this point, Yamamoto Kenran hummed, standing outside a valley. Different from other places, this valley is strange. You can see the clouds in the valley steaming away far away, surrounded by the chi of chi. This chi of chi is not aura, but a colorful fairy chi. Very striking in a dark continent. Yekong knows that he is not his opponent, hard but not soft. Hurrying to keep up, laughing, predecessor Jianren really did a good job, and now he is reckless. After the predecessor's orders, we do as the predecessor lets us go east, we will never go west, the predecessor lets us steal a dog, we never catch chicken, you are satisfied. Yamamoto Kenran smiled a little, and hummed, come with me. Entering into the valley, I saw strange stones and lush vegetation. On the ground of Taniguchi, unknown vines were growing. Yekong passed by from above, and it was clear that the vines were hostile to him. Looking down, I saw those vine branches, like living creatures, dormant like poisonous snakes, and were about to move. Obviously, these plants are not imaginative, but with the presence of Yamamoto Kenran, those vines dare not act lightly. Then the unicorn cloud hoofed came, and the vines were scared to the ground, afraid to look up. These weeds are even more afraid of the beasts, Yekong's heart moved. Don't want to run away. These vine vegetation are all the grasses I brought from the fairyland. The general inferior Jinxian is not the opponent, you. Yamamoto Kenji chuckled into the valley. There is a large flat land in the valley, with 2 houses, a hut, and a stone house. Yekong originally thought that the stone house must be built by Yamamoto Kenran, and the thatched house was lived by the beast. Who knows exactly the opposite, that is, a house where horses live, a house where animals live. It seems that this beast is more important than this horseman. Find your own materials to build a house, too, don't want to agree, if the girl is no longer pure, Yamamoto Kenran sneered into the hut. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 584. 585 Immortals. The night passed quickly. Although it was not too much effort for the cultivator to build thatched cottages, it was still exhausted to leave Yekong after covering the 2 rooms. After the building was completed, he and Wang Tingshi went to meditate separately. After a while, I heard Yamamoto's shout outside. Get out of here, do you think I brought you here for happiness? Come here. Yekong hurried out of the hut. The sky was already bright, and now I can see clearly. In this valley, the green grass is like green grass, Xianxia is everywhere, the mountains are near the water, the cicadas are calling, and they are like a fairyland on earth. The pieces of fairy grass and trees that are in front of you are all Ecchi and haven't seen before. On those fairy grasses, the chi is particularly strong, as if covered with a layer of colorful clouds. Walking in it, it seems that it really came to the fairy realm. Like Yekong, Wang Tingshi who walked out of the hut was also stunned by the scenery in front of him. I didn't expect such a scenery in the terrible vicious valley. What do you want to see? I will let you watch it slowly in the future, Yamamoto Jianren roared and ordered, you clean the house for me, it hasn't been cleaned for more than a century. Oh, Yekong smiled bitterly. It is really sad, who originally wanted to come to Kangbei for treasure hunt, who knows that he will eventually become a subordinate who cleans the house for others. Looking at Yekong's expression, Yamamoto Jianren said angrily, I don't care what lord you are. When you come to me, you will work for me. If you don't want to, then I will help you. Power of heaven. With a big wave of Yamamoto Kenran, the whole hut flew into the air, thatch, pillars, and the furniture in it all scattered to the sky. Then he opened his mouth again, and a gust of wind blew away all the dust on all the objects. At this time, he lowered his hands, and the items in the hut dropped by themselves, and all returned to the distance to form a house. It is exactly the same as before. The original grass has now returned to its original position and has not changed at all. The next time you don't listen, I will let your internal organs clean up again. Seeing Yamamoto's Jianren spell so powerful, Yekong and Wang Tingshi both opened their mouths in shock. Fairy, this is the power of fairy. According to the level of fairyland, the intermediate Xianxian is just a rookie among the immortals, and the 18-pin fairy will be too small to have no product, but this kind of person already has such powerful power. Don't even think about killing him or escaping from him. But was he enslaved in this way? Just stay here and not leave? Impossible. Never. My mission is not this, neither farming nor cleaning your house, nor is it bullying you. Many people are waiting for me, Rulan, martial arts, mixed UN zone, relatives far away in Angwo, and my friends. They are waiting for me to become stronger, waiting for me to return, waiting for me to bring them flying hope. I want to leave. Yekong was determined. He has become diligent, and has more respect for Yamamoto Kenran, and he serves just like his dad. He worked hard at planting fairy grass. This large piece of fairy grass is the seed that Yamamoto brought down from the fairy realm, and its role is to release fairy chi. As long as it costs a small amount of Xianyu to crush and sprinkle as feed, these fairy grass will release fairy chi. The immortality released by Xianko is enough for Yamamoto to practice, which is more cost-effective than directly absorbing the immortality in Xianyu. Wang Tingshi was not idle. In addition to playing with the unicorn Yunhelan every day, he fed it with a kind of elixir. This elixir is the food of unicorn cloud hoof, and I do not know what it is made of. I heard that every 50 years, Yamamoto will return to the fairyland to collect it once. Yekong quietly told Wang Tingshi to let her continue to say bad things about Yamamoto in the ear of unicorn Yunhelan, and let her have a sense of resistance. However, the effect was not obvious. This beast had spent 200 years with Yamamoto Kenran. Days passed, and more than half a month passed. Yamamoto is becoming more and more satisfied with Yekong. This boy works hard and talks interestingly, but it is an object to relieve boredom. Sometimes when he encounters a bottleneck in practice, he comes out and talks with him. He feels happy, but he is so lucky he did anti-kill got him. What made Yamamoto Jianren dissatisfied was Wang Tingshi. This girl didn't say anything to him all day. He sometimes wanted to take a small advantage and was also avoided by Wang Tingshi. Only ghosts have the character of your hibiscus, I'm not as cruel as you. Yekong laughed. Xianxia, are you fluxing star soaring? How easy is it for you to soar? Yamamoto Jianren shook his head and said, it's not easy, generally 1 in 10 or 8 years. In fact, each star soaring has a quota. The specific number is allocated by the 5 immortals according to the total number of immortals. I don't know the details. Now, Fuzu star is not easy, it can be 1 every 10 or 8 years, but Xianxia has not soared a few 100,000 years. It seems that the problem is really in the upper bound, and I do know who the Xianxia offends. Not only does it not let Xianxia it's awful that the stars are soaring, and they have given half of the planet to their pasture. Yamamoto Jianren waved again, don't inquire about this, it has nothing to do with you unless you want to die. Yekong laughed. Actually, it doesn't do anything to me, but I also know some people in the fairy world. I'm a fairy king. Immortal June, Yamamoto Jianren was startled. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 585. 5864 Big Beasts. The immortal level is Jinxian, Deluo Jinxian, Lusheng Xianxian, Xianjun, Xiandi. I heard that there is a fairy master, but it is a legend. No one can tell. Xianjun is second only to Xiandi. Intermediate Jinxian like Yamamoto Jianren is like an ant in front of Xianjun, and he cannot help but be afraid. Her name is Wu's Hixian Jun, the ancestor of my mixed UN zone. I used the secret method to communicate with me before Yekong did not dare to say that she was in the lower bounds, otherwise Wu Wuxian could cause trouble. However, it was surprising that Yamamoto Jianren thought about it for a long time, and replied, I haven't heard of this name. It stands to reason that Xianxia is a famous person. I can't have never heard of it. Also, up and down Jiatong news. It's impossible, even if Xianxia doesn't have this ability, wouldn't your kid trick me? Depressed, how could an immortal's name never be heard? Could it be martial arts bragging? NND, the cowhide killed the person. He wanted to use Yamagata's name to scare Yamamoto, but he did not expect to be counterproductive, and he was suspected to lie to him. Yekong hurriedly said, "Really, it's not good for me to lie to you. Not only Xianxia, I also know you fluxing stars." Oh, Yamamoto Jianren became interested. I don't know how this guy knew the Fuzu star. Xianxia, I didn't lie to you. I know a lot. There are Mudolan, Kang Jingkong, Songdao Feng, and Maria Izawa. Oh, right. It's really the name of our Fuzu star. Yamamoto Jianren was a little excited and asked again, what kind of cultivation are they all famous for? Why haven't I heard of them? They are all famous, they are well known. Almost everyone knows them in our hometown. They may have migrated from your Fuxingxing to our hometown. Well, immigrating from one planet to another, it must be amazing. Yamamoto nodded, thinking again and asking, where is your hometown? I will go and see if I have time. My hometown is Earth, Yekong said with some regrets. One day, this guy really can't find the Earth. That can give Earth and trouble Chinese people. Fortunately, Yamamoto Kenran pondered for a moment and shook his head. The name of the planet in good soil, I haven't heard of it. What's special there? Or something special? Yekong said mysteriously, my hometown is best known for its 4 great beasts. Oh, the 4 great beasts? Talk about it. Yamamoto Jianren, the head of the horse department, was quite competent. Hearing of the beast, he immediately raised his ears. Yekong was also not polite. He sat down with a big grin and poured himself a cup of immortal tea. He set out a sermon and said, our home, the 4 most famous beasts, they are so powerful, they all have supernatural powers. Let us start with the 4th. This 4th ranked beast is actually not a beast, but a kind of divine insect called a chrysanthemum silkworm. This silkworm is inherently fierce and extremely overbearing, although it has a poetic name, but it is very wicked, and it is said that it can explode thousands of miles away. Yamamoto Jianren was surprised. Well, so powerful? Even Luo Tianxian shot, I'm afraid he can't do it. Of course Yekong drank the mouth tea, and said, if you rank 3rd, you have some relationship with your hibiscus stars. This beast's name is Amadai, but it is an extremely powerful animal. Legends: this orc butterfly wing plays with hundreds of girls every day. Yamamoto wondered, hundreds of people? Does this beast do nothing but that thing every day? Doesn't it eat in that hut? It looks a bit exaggerated. Yekong hurriedly said, the legend is, all those who have seen these gods and beasts are dead. Who knows what they eat and go to thatched house? Yamamoto Kenran smiled and shook his head. Hearing it, it's not true. Yekong said, Xianxia, you are wrong. Although Amadai has never been seen by anyone, one thing is true. Whenever you descend from Fuxingxing, when you are happy with men, they will call out the name of the butterfly. Yamamoto asked curiously, why is it called this butterfly? That is to make a man like Amadai. The steel gun does not fall, it is also magical. Whenever your hibiscus woman calls Amadai Amadai, the man is as divine as a god, strong and explosive. You see, just calling the name of this butterfly has such an effect. If this butterfly appeared, it would be impossible to imagine. Originally, Yamamoto thought that the boy had said something strange in the way of hearing. Now he heard what he said was so true, but he also believed 8 points. He looked forward to the 2 beasts behind him. Everything in the world is magical. One world and one world are completely different. What we cannot imagine does not mean that it will not appear. Yamamoto Jianren sighed, and then asked, that second one is again what kind of beast? Yekong looked into the distance and said, this second-ranked beast is called Fake Squid. It is the overlord in the vast sea. It is said that its natural power holds the sky with one hand and supports the ground with one hand. It just increased the distance between heaven and earth by 3 feet 3 minutes. Yamamoto Jianren stared in surprise, the gods and beasts that open up the world. Even the immortal emperor doesn't have this ability. This and beast supports the sky with one hand. How big is it? And why doesn't it hold up 3 feet? 3 pointers. This is unknown. Yekong called a ha-ha, and said, there is also a legend about this beast. It is said that as long as you eat a piece of meat on this squid, you will be immensely powerful. Yamamoto laughed. If this beast is so overbearing, who can eat his flesh? A warrior who can really eat his flesh, presumably his power is even more amazing. What is he eating his flesh for? Yekong nodded in agreement. The predecessor of Jianren said that it is difficult to eat the meat of this squid. However, whenever the warriors fight, as long as the warriors take a shot, Fak Squid. Immediately the small universe erupts, the whole body, the momentum is skyrocketing. This is not false. Oh. I'll try it. Yamamoto Jianren stood up, his expression calmed, and yelled, Fake Squid. Yamamoto drank with surprise. This squid is really overbearing. It deserves to be ranked second in the beast. We can't think of our world and can even use its power. Fak Squid shouted. Ben Xian suddenly felt refreshed and hurried. Yamamoto shouted again Squid a few times, the more he shouted the more cheerful. Yekong was upset, and your ancestor was stubborn. Didn't I teach him to scold me? Too bad, we have to change it below. Finally, let's talk about the first beast in our hometown. This beast is called the grass mud horse. It lives in the desolate Malago Gobi. Among all the beasts, the power of this beast is the most amazing. Once the grass mud horse comes out, the color will change until the situation changes, and the earth will tremble. Even if the of heaven comes, bow your head. Yamamoto Jianren tasted the sweetness and wanted to yell at the grass mud horse, but was stopped by Yekong. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 586. Time is urgent. Xianxia, slow. This grass mud horse is different from Fake Squid. If you call the grass mud horse directly, it is to give the other party strength. The real way to yell is to have good luck, and then yell out, grass lying horse. That's it? Yamamoto Jianren was so happy that he kept yelling, grass lying on the horse. Yekong was funny while drinking water. Slowly grass your mother, stupid. Yamamoto Jianren roared for a while before feeling addicted, and then turned back and said, beginning to shout was quite imposing, but when you shouted, you felt that the momentum was weak. Is there a limit to the number of times that this beast power can be used every day? Yekong thought about it and said, I'm not very clear about this, but there are 2 variants of this grass mud horse, the mutant grass mud horse, one of which is called crazy grass mud horse, and the other called dry mud horse, which can be used in turns. Yamamoto Kenren laughed, I know this time. When I shout, do I want to shout mad grass lying horse and dry lying horse? Yekong almost smiled and hurriedly said, Yingming, the predecessor is really wise, and the other is inferior, and the senior will slowly rush the horse. I went out, after borrowing the power of the beast, there must be no immoral thoughts in my heart, otherwise I will a strong demon appears, seniors remember. I see. Over the next few days, there was a violent drinking from the valley. Grass horse. Give me strength, crazy grass horse. Although temporarily living in Yamamoto Kenren, the crisis is still there, and freedom is still not there. Although Yekong smiles on the surface, he is very anxious in his heart. Should the space channel be opened? Should someone come in? Do people outside know that I have come to Kangbei? Oops, how annoying. Yekeng sprayed Xiantian fertilizer on Xiantian that day, and when he passed out from Wang Tingshi suddenly gave him something. It was a jade Cambodia. Both of them were suspected of being monitored or spoken by Yamamoto. Only by writing the words to be transmitted in jade Cambodia was it safest. Yekong walked and looked into the gods. I saw that Wang Tingshi wrote, "The old guy wanted to take advantage of me again, and I avoided it." But listening to him, after receiving the immortal order, Princess Emperor returned to her house. Now, it is urgent to have Unicorn Cloud Hoof, regardless of adulthood, someone will come to take it away in the near future. The old guy said that when it must be, what to do, anxious death, before time, let you. The content behind Wang Tingshi can't write anymore. Even if you are anxious, you can't write what makes you XX my content. Yekong is not stupid. Of course, she understands the meaning. For the first time a girl is the most precious, how can she forcibly get the old guy? Might as well make good friends. Yekong smiled slightly, crushed the jade Cambodia, and nodded to Wang Tingshi. Wang Tingshi blushed when she thought of what she had revealed. Yekong walked into his room, and he was thinking about more than that. As soon as the beast was gone, I was afraid that Yamamoto would also leave. The old guy bragged that taking them both to the immortal realm, Yekong didn't believe it. It was impossible for the immortal lower realm and the mortal upper realm. Yamamoto Jianren was just an 18-pin fairy. It was like an ant-like existence. Fairyland. Sending yourself to the underworld is more likely. Yamamoto's growing impulse towards Wang Tingshi shows that time is really fast. You can't let Wang Tingshi be hurt, and you can't sit and wait for death. These days, in fact Yekong has been doing two things, one alchemy. Second practice. What Dan? High-end spirit beast Dan. Thinking about the seductive power of this thing on Daewoo, we can know the effect of Dan on Unicorn Cloud Hoof. Yekong set out from Angwo and gave all the spirit beast Dan to Daewoo. Fortunately, there are still many materials. Yekong's relationship with Yamamoto is to get him to agree to practice alchemy. Of course, he was talking about the elixir used by the cultivation of the immortal, and Yamamoto Kenran immediately agreed, not to make a pill? What can happen? Yekong was still a little worried at first, afraid that the old guy would fancy his ancient treasure gourd and Kangbei cold fire, but he decided to fight it. Sure enough, Jianben Yamamoto was just shocked when he saw the cold fire in Kangbei, and sighed, if it was before the ascension, I would desperately this kind of fire with you. This thing was of great use to me at the time. The cultivation of the immortals is completely different from that of the monks. The immortals demand the power of heaven, the cultivation of immortals, the training of immortals, these things, useless. Yekong laughed, in fact, this is the Kangbei cold fire. It is said that the source of the fire is in the extreme north of Kangbei. Even if the seniors want to pick it by themselves, why do I need something from my junior? Yamamoto laughed, you don't have to lift me up. The north of Kangbei is the land occupied by the demons. I don't fear the demons in general, but that is the place where the Western Fairy Emperor covers. I can't afford to guilty. Even if we are the Eastern Emperors, we are giving the Western Immortals a little bit. Is that so? Western Fairy Emperor is a demon fairy, Yekong asked quickly. Yamamoto face to face, let's ask less. Knowing is useless to you, it's just more trouble. Found that Yamamoto was dismissive of his baby, Yekong began to resolutely and boldly refining the dandelion. Although he had been skilled in refining the high-end spiritual beast dandelion, it took half a month to complete it. Today, it's time to open the furnace and take it. Entering the two-layer matrix span, a large brass furnace was standing in the thick mist. Safely Kangbei cold fire burned for a full 15 days, the temperature in the matrix method has been like an ice cellar, the bitter cold had condensed into a mist, and if a monk came in, it would be too much. To prevent this cold air from escaping, Yekong specially set up a two-layer array method. The purpose of doing this is also to prevent the spill of Dangxiang when the furnace is turned on. The susceptibility of beasts to humans is much greater than that of humans. Since the last incident of the double-headed green scale python attracted by the flower of Teres grandis, he has paid particular attention to this point. Unlike the usual one, today you can smell the obvious Dangxiang. The scent of this spirit beast is something that humans don't like to smell, and it's fishy and irritating, but it is the favorite taste of the spirit beast. Very pure. Yekong already has more experience. Smelling this smell, we know that Chu Dan has 70% confidence. However, no one can guarantee that it will actually be able to get out of the dandelion. Even if it is the practice of refining dantian for alchemy, it will not guarantee the stability. But don't make mistakes, I don't have time for another half a month. For the first time, Yekong was so nervous about a furnace of elixir. Walk to the brass kiln and observe the success sign as a sign. Most of the success symbols have been burned to ashes, and there is only one final thin piece left. God bless, Buddha, bless God, this is not elixir, this is my life. Yekong Nian stunned for a moment, and suddenly lifted the brass cover of the Dan furnace. A strong, red-headed, and a little bit green taste came out. Yekong is overjoyed, it's done. Of course, alchemy hasn't been schemed, and it's not clear whether the unicorn Cloud Hooflin has bought it. Then, Yekong started to work on his second important thing, cultivation. What is cultivation at this time? Oh, I guess there are prizes. To the reader. Chapter 3 has not been written today, haha, 1 hour late, sorry. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 587. May 8th Plan Disruption. The setting sun rises and the sun shines. In the hut, you can clearly see the change from night to day, watching the moonlight shot outside the hut door slowly disappearing and darkness. Then a bright white light came out from the door, getting brighter and brighter. It was another night. Wang Tingshi was sleepless overnight, neither sleeping nor meditating. Thinking of the desolate fate that was coming, how could she calm down? Thinking of Yamamoto's eyes that seemed to be stripping off his clothes, Wang Tingshi shuddered. As the daughter of the corpse yin sect, she never thought that her first time was taken away by a nasty old man. He is a fairy, but she doesn't want to. And even if the old man succeeds, if she and Yekong can survive, the chances are slim. However, she thought of Yekong's smile again. It was a sunny smile that made people feel at ease. The smile seemed to have infinite power, as bright as the sun, and it could melt snow and ice. But with this smile, if you want to defeat the fairy, then it is nonsense. Wang Ting smiled bitterly, but she believed that Yekong wasn't the kind of casual talker. He said it was okay, he should be okay, he said that he can rest assured that he can rest assured. This is a man who can give a woman a sense of security. A sense of security does not mean that there is invincible force in the world, but a heart with responsibility, integrity, and toughness. But even then, can Wang Tingshi be assured? If that's the case, she won't sleep up all night. That's a fairy, a medium golden fairy. Can a monk in the foundation period really defeat the immortal? The sky was bright, everything seemed to be unchanged. Yekong still sprinkled the powder of Xianyu into Xiantian, Wang Tingshi was also playing with the unicorn Cloud Hooflin, and Yamamoto Jianren was still practicing in the house, absorbing the strongest morning fairy. Everything is as usual, but who knows that everything that looks like harmony will soon be completely broken. After Yekong sprinkled the fertilizer, he looked at Yamamoto's house with a little nervousness, and it was not wise to make small moves in the presence of an immortal, but he only made a desperate bet. Success, or death, there is no third way. One per day, don't let it be eaten easily, you must wait for it to beg hard, and give it when desperate, so that it can recognize the Lord. When the two passed by, Xianxia gave Wang Tingxi a small white porcelain bottle. When Yekong walked by casually, Wang Tingxi held the bottle tightly in his hand. She knew that it was their hope to live with dignity. He said, only by letting the unicorn Cloud Hooflin recognize himself as the main one, can he use the power of the beast to defeat Yamamoto Kenran. Wang Tingxi believes that it can work. This unicorn Yun Duolin not only likes pure women, but also is very human. Even if people talk, it is very clear. But Yekong just said, she felt a little embarrassed. Don't give it lightly, let it begging hard. Wang Tingxi felt that it couldn't be done. Isn't that forcing this beast? It is not Wang Tingxi's willingness to induce and increase coercion. But since Yekong said so, she only has to execute. But is it really that simple? Fairies are so easy to fool? Obviously not. What's in your hand? A cold drink asked, interrupting all of Wang Tingxi's reveries, and instantly disrupted their plans. This is the elixir he has made for me. Wang Tingxi's ability to lie is really bad. Cultivating elixir, Yamamoto Jianren said with a sarcastic smile. Are you a demon, too, relying on high-end spirit beast to cultivate? What? Both Wang Tingxi and Yekong were stunned. Yamamoto knew their secrets long ago, and even the elixir in the bottle, he knew what the elixir was without looking. A sense of despair surged into Wang Tingxi's mind. Looking at the two inexplicable and desperate expressions, Yamamoto Jianren laughed proudly. It's up to you, if you want to play with this in front of your husband, you're still tender. After finishing, watching Yekong, coldly, human beings are really dishonest and so greedy. Two immortal practitioners in the foundation period want to conceal an immortal? It's just delusional. Yekong clenched his fists and bit his teeth. There is no retreat, since it was discovered, only fight. Fighting is dead, not fighting is also dead, might as well die. Splashing your blood before dying is also worth it. As soon as Jianben Yamamoto raised his hand, the jade bottle in Wang Tingxi's hand flew into his palm uncontrollably. Holding the jade bottle in his hand, a smile appeared on the corner of Yamamoto's mouth, and he looked at Yekong teasingly. Do you think you will welcome me deliberately? Will I relax to you? You are wrong. In fact, I am more alert to you. But you, when I said I wanted to practice alchemy, I was really fooled by you. I didn't doubt it, but haha, it's God's will. Children, you know, I am not a human. The goblet's nose is the sharpest, not to mention your 2-layer garbage formation. Even if it is 10 layers, I can smell the fragrance of the high-end spirit beast. Yekong really wanted to cry without tears, and the arrangements he made were seamless, and even the unicorn Cloud Hooflin didn't smell the smell when he was out, but who would have expected that this Yamamoto Jianren himself was a doghead? Yamamoto said more and more proud, children, in fact, I wanted to kill you at the time. I hate humans who think they are smart. But I don't, to tell you the truth, I also want this high-end spirit beast. I am also I want Unicorn to recognize me as the main one. There was a flash of resentment in Yamamoto's eyes. The Eastern Emperor's palace has always paid no attention to the demon cultivation, and it is even more inappropriate for our dogheads. If this unicorn Yunjaelin recognizes me as the main, I have escaping from the control of the Eastern Emperor's palace, go to be a free and immortal robber. Senior doghead, in this case, my high-level spirit beast Dan is already with you, you are your robber, we are our cultivators. How about everyone not meeting? Yekong said. Dream, Yamamoto replied, in order to ensure foolproofness, I must kill you to destroy your mouth. That girl child can die later, haha, when the old man is fuchsing seeing, he likes playing with human women most. It turned out to be a doghead, Yekong snorted, and that contemptuous attitude made Yamamoto Kenran very upset. After he became a fairy, he even more tabooed at people who laughed at him. Let's die, Yamamoto Kenran was furious. Slow, Yekong asked again, Senior, you and I get along for more than a month, I have no credit or hard work, and finally ask you a question. Yamamoto Kenran sneered, you ask. The beast is a proud thing. This unicorn cloud hoof is the sacred item in the beast. It is also very rare in the fairyland. I do know. As a lowly and humble doghead, you issued an order, whether it is it willing to accept. If it accepts, that is not to say that it is not as good as a dog. This top-level beast is not as good as a dog. Then when it goes out, how do you say hello when it meets the same? Does it say, hey friend, this is my master, a goblin? Yama was still listening, but suddenly saw the unicorn cloud hooflin's poor eyes. He immediately understood that this scheming human being was playing a conspiracy trick. Boy, you are really cunning. But I advise you not to dying. Yamamoto Kenran laughed, lifted the lid of the porcelain bottle, and passed it under the unicorn cloud hoof's nose, and said, do you want to eat? If you want to eat this high-level spirit beast then recognize me as the Lord. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 588. 5 or 9 War Fairy. Do you want to eat it? If you want to eat this high-order spirit beast then recognize me as the master. Yamamoto Kenran laughed and put the porcelain bottle with the high-order spirit beast Dan under the unicorn's nose. What can respond to him is the unicorn cloud hooflin's eyes as if looking at an idiot. What happened? Yamamoto's eyes widened. At this look, he understood the problem, and there was no good smell in the white porcelain bottle. Yamamoto Kenran took back the porcelain bottle, looked inside, and immediately became furious. Empty. You lie to me. Yes, the real high-end spirit beast is here. Yekong took out a porcelain bottle, opened it, and a strong pungent scent filled it. The unicorn Yunheelin's face showed an intoxicated expression. Netherworld hair thief. You lied to me. Bring it to me. Yamamoto grabbed his hand. But Yekong had already prepared. After he took out the porcelain bottle, he immediately smashed the porcelain bottle on the ground and kicked it again. He smashed the porcelain bottle and an elixir inside, and shouted at the unicorn Yunholin, other spirit beasts are hiding. Save me if you want to eat them, I don't force you to recognize the Lord, just save us. You dream. Yamamoto Jianren was teased by this blackbird again and again, no longer the image of a senior man, raised his hand and roared. Power of heaven. Yekong and Wangting were unable to move at once. The power of this heaven is a spell of the upper realm. Is this a monk in this realm able to fight? However, under Yekong's flicker, the unicorn cloud hooflin was tempted. It stood in front of Yekong and lowered his head to sniff the aroma of the high-level spirit beast that had fallen into the soil. Humans did not like to smell it, but the spirit beast liked it. To them, it tastes almost like drugs. However, it is a divine beast, which is the most advanced breed of divine beasts. It still has dignity. It restrains its urge to lick the ground, looks up, and looks at Yekong with a pair of black eyes, and wants another one. But seeing Yekong's painful expression, it remembered Yekong's words. Save them if you want to eat. Ang, the unicorn Yunhulan roared at Yamamoto Jianren, let Yekong and Wang Tingshi release. Yamamoto Kenran snorted coldly, a savage beast who hasn't opened his mind, let me go. The unicorn cloud hooflin can already understand human speech. When it listens to Yamamoto's words, it also knows that it is scolding it, and it immediately becomes annoyed. Ang, the unicorn Yunhulan raised his head and bellowed. It is a metallic beast, and it also has a bright attribute. In Western legend, a unicorn is a bright relic. Its holy light can dispel evil, remove all bad effects, heal people, and save lives. This unicorn cloud hoof also has the same ability. It roared. The unicorn suddenly burst into 7 colors and radiated light. It shone on Yekong and Wang Tingshi. The two were immediately restrained and free to move freely. The power of heaven disappeared. At the same time, the colorful unicorns raised a white, like a gush of water springs, protecting Yekong and Wang Tingshi among them. Xiao Bai, thank you. Wang Tingshi hugged the unicorn Yun Holin excitedly. Xiao Bai was the name Wang Tingshi gave it. Unicorn God Light, Yamamoto looked at the unicorn Cloud Hoof's skills, and the greed in his eyes immediately appeared. This is just an immature unicorn Cloud Hoof, which can easily destroy his power of heaven. If you wait, it's an adult, is that okay? Boy, it's like giving me elixir and refining. I let you go, how about it? Yamamoto replied with a smile. Since tearing his face can no longer be compromised, Yekong knows that the spirit beast is the only one to rely on. If it was given to Yamamoto Jianren, there would only be one dead word. Senior Jianren, I have the ability to pick it up myself. Also, I have hidden the beast dandelion in a place where no one knows. Even if you kill me, you will not get it? You're looking for death. Yamamoto Jianren was furious, raised his hand, and a Jinchankan flying sword appeared in his hand. You think you can survive with a beast? It's ridiculous. I told you clearly that leaving this valley, your ending is a dead letter. Yamamoto Kenran held the fairy sword and did not take any action. He was not afraid to fight alone. The horned cloud hoof, the key thing is the princess of the Eastern Emperor's palace. If you hurt it, you have 100 dog heads, it is not enough to chop. How do we go out to survive? You don't need to worry about it. You just let us go. Yekong ignored his kindness. Huh, don't dream, Yamamoto Jianren yelled at the unicorn Yunhelin again. Treading snow, do you have to faint? You are the beast of the Eastern Immortal Palace, not these two people from the lower world. In a few days, you will be picked up by the Immortal. Aren't you afraid of the Emperor's leather whip? When the unicorn Yunhelin heard the Emperor's leather whip, he shivered suddenly. It seemed that it was not a good thing. When Yekong couldn't see it right, he shouted, Xiao Bai, don't listen to him, it's just a goblet, Xiandi won't listen to it. The unicorn Yunhelin understood the words but had no brains, and was suddenly confused by Yekongji. Yekong took out another porcelain bottle and shook it under the unicorn's nose. Fang it, kill him, I'll give it to you. These beasts are simply brains, and when they smell the smell, they are out of control. Seeing Yamamoto Jianren still nonsense, Yekong raised his hand and threw a flying fish sword, boom. Yamamoto was annoyed for a while. Damn, I haven't shot yet. You're the first shot. You want to hurt me just because of this? Whimsical. My husband is standing still, how can you bear me? Boom, flying fish sword burst into debris in a loud noise, surrounded by a white smoke and dust. However, after the white shards spilled and the smoke and dust cleared, it was clear that Yamamoto Kenran was intact. Junior in the lower world, have you seen Ascension? Do you know how to cope with Xianguang? Have you heard of Xianguang's refining? Yamamoto Kenran laughed. The light shines, and after the body of immortal light is refined, the body will become stronger and stronger, and the magic tools of the nether will have no effect on us. What else can you do? Make it better. Looking at the unicorn Yunhelin was still hesitant, and the opposite Yamamoto Jianren was as hard as a tank. Yekong Yula Wang Tingshi, go. Want to escape? No way, Yamamoto Kenran strode out. Yekong, they are in the middle of the fairy field. There is a thick magpie in the field, like a layer of mist, blocking their bodies. Zenkai, how can you stop me? Open it to me. Yamamoto Jianren waved a fairy sword in his hand, and the chi immediately spread to both sides, revealing a passageway, and Yamamoto Kenran strode in. Not good. When walking into a place in Xiantian, Yamamoto's face changed, and he found himself walking into an unknown formation. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 589. 590 Bao name Broken Ferry Road. I don't know when Yekong and Wang Tingshi came back again. Fankan is trapped in the ferry array, and indeed even the ferry can be trapped. Lao Jianren, you are dead. Yamamoto Jianren was anxious for a while, but he settled down and sneered, I can't think of someone in your netherworld, but I have some skills, but when I go out, I will use my third sword in my hand to chop your inch. Yekong laughed, do you still want to think of it? This immortal array of fairy tales is trapped in you, don't think of it for hundreds of thousands of years. I will also kill you. Yamamoto Jianren laughed, stupid, maybe you don't know yet. In a few days, the Eastern Emperor's mansion will send people to the underworld. When that happens, I see where you are going. Yekong hummed, why do you need to kill you for a few days? Now you can. Then I'll wait and see. Wang Tingshi also looked at Yekong in surprise. She had no resistance to this fairy. The man in front of him, however, has a lot of tricks. He is trapping a medium gold fairy in the formation. His cultivation is 2 floors higher than himself. How did he do it? How did he kill this impenetrable fairy? In fact, someone's move is also very simple. The old routine, poured out a beast of Dan, beckoned to the unicorn Cloudhoof, brother, kill him, this is yours. Wang Tingshi asked, did you just say that you are hiding? Yekong laughed. I speak. Only 3 of the 10 sentences are true. Wang Ting said, I see more than 3 sentences, and 1 sentence is really good. Under the temptation of elixir, the unicorn Cloudhooflin can no longer control it. The top corner of the head is getting brighter and brighter, and the 2 front hoofs are constantly planing the ground, as if at the gas valve, waiting to rush out. Not good, this unicorn Cloudhooflin's destiny skill is a powerful collision. By this collision, the immortal body was destroyed. Nakamoto Yamamoto cannot see the outside, but can hear the voice. He suddenly became nervous. Well, then let you see, I'm pressing the bottom of the box. Look at this array, how to trap me. Hundreds of incarnations. Yamamoto Jianren yelled, and saw as many as hundreds of Yamamoto Kenren appeared. Although his body was still in the battle, hundreds of avatars were all out of the battle. These are not phantoms. They are all avatars. As long as there is one, Yamamoto Kenren cannot die and can escape. It is good that Cao Guang had 1 avatar at first, but Yamamoto Jianren had 100 avatars. This is the fairy. In fact, Yamamoto Kenren had just entered the immortal realm for 200 years, and spent all of them in the deep mountains of Kangbei. Therefore, he could not practice well, and with his immortal power, it was not too long to support this 100. But even for a moment, he was enough. The avatar appeared, and he immediately moved the body to an avatar outside. Once you have your whole body closed, you will be relieved easily. It was so cool to come out, and Yamamoto Jianren yelled immediately, grass lying. Crazy grass lying. When Wang Tingshi saw him come out, he took 2 steps back, and heard him growling again, fearing in her heart. She also heard that as long as she called, her momentum would increase immediately. But Yekong laughed, hummed your mother for so long, you haven't enough, Yamamoto Kenren, you are really filial, but in the end it is a doghead, the customs are different, haha, your own mother, I still shouted in the street, for fear that others don't know, ha ha ha. Lying on the grass, Mum, Yamamoto Kenren's momentum suddenly flinched back. I am so stupid, I have been deceived for so long. Junior in the lower world, I fight with you, Yamamoto Kenren went mad and ran over. Little White? Come on. The 2 of white light banged together, as if the 2 airfields violently struck, a white light ball appeared. Then, the white light ball swelled to the quartet instantly, everything around was pushed out, Yekong and Wang Tingshi were pushed out a few miles away. Looking up, I saw a small mushroom cloud appearing above the valley, and at the top of the mushroom cloud, there was a guy with a dog head. Asshole! Blast my fairy body! Bastard in the lower world, you die! Yamamoto Kenrin, who showed the body, roared, reached out, and the Sanpon fairy sword emerged from the mushroom cloud. Go to death! Yamamoto Jianren combined his sword and body, straight down. This way he won't die. Wang Tingshi was desperate. Unicorn Cloud Hoof did not come out, he poured out. Unexpectedly, this immortal's power was indeed infinite, and he killed a top beast. Alas, poor little white. Wang Tingshi knew that Yekong relied on a unicorn cloud hoof. But now that the beast is killed, there is no reliance on it. It seems that he is really going to die. However, Yekong smiled slightly. A horse step, his right hand was lifted, a huge green longbow appeared. The longbow was turquoise green, the shape was open, and the wings on both sides of the bow opened like wings. Yekong lifted his left hand again, clinging to the bowstring, and then a little starlight appeared at his fingertips. Then, the colored light of 7 colors formed a small cyclone, and the cyclone stretched forward. Colored arrows appear. Correct. That's right. Yekong has been practicing recently, and this is how to use this fairy. He has been practicing silently, but has never had a chance to really take out a longbow and shoot an arrow. And now, he is about to shoot the first arrow of this fairy bow. When he picked up the longbow for the first time, a message immediately passed into his brain: Ju Pingxian bow, broken fairy road. Once this bow comes out, the fairy road will be broken. Regardless of being an immortal or an immortal, under such a domineering 9-pin immortal, the immortal road has come to an end. So named, Broken Fairy Road. Broken Immortal Road is no longer in the hands of Luoxiaoqi at that time. Although he could use it at first, he used a meat-feeding bow method, and he is mortal, so even this bow is 1/10,000th no power was issued. In Yekong's hands, it's not the same. Duanxian Road already recognizes him as the master. More importantly, Yekong has authentic immortality in his body, and that colorful arrow is the immortality. It can be said that the power exerted by this bow in Yekong's hands is not much smaller than the power used by a fairy. At the moment of pulling the bow, Yamamoto Jianren had rushed to Yekong, but when he saw the long bow, the immortal gathering like mist, he was already afraid. Jupingxian bow, Yamamoto Kenren ran back. He didn't know how this person from the nether turned back to the Hypenxiankai, and he couldn't care less about the issue. He just took a Sanpon Xianxian in his hand. This Sanpon fairy sword was still 200 years after he came to Fairyland, that is, when he returned to Fairyland some time ago, he used all his household goods in exchange. Suddenly he thought that someone once told him to know an immortal. Of course, all thoughts vanished. Jupingxian bow, broken fairy road. Once this bow comes out, fairy road will be broken. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 590. Killing the Immortals on May 9th. Wind and thunder burst, the world was overshadowed. The colorful arrows, like a rainbow, instantly tore through the void, and behind the arrow dragged a beautiful and majestic golden cyclone. The stars were dazzling. Yamamoto Kenren, as a doghead, can become an immortal, but it is not easy to be with him. In his long life, he has experienced thousands of battles. In an emergency, he yelled, hundreds of incarnations. Oh, the arrows condensed by Xiankai easily pierced Yamamoto's body and shattered it. However, Yamamoto Kenren survived, because he still has a full 100 clones. As long as one is alive, he cannot die. Whew, Yamamoto Jianren took a breath, fast speed, strong strength. Fortunately, I had hundreds of incarnations and finally escaped. But really escaped? Once this bow comes out, the fairy road will be broken. This is not for fun. In the blink of an eye, the fairy arrows that had been shot and did not know where they were, whistled back again. The figure of the arrow was so fast that his eyesight couldn't be seen, like a rainbow flying from the sky. Beep sound continued to sound. Yamamoto Kenran's avatar was constantly broken and burst. Until the last avatar left. Yamamoto Kenran could not escape. He stared at the colorful arrows hitting himself, and at that moment, he found that the light was so gorgeous. Boom! The colorful arrows and the last avatar of Yamamoto Kenran were smashed at the same time, and the flesh and blood of the sky was like a blood rain. Xiao fell. Poor Yamamoto Kenran, as a doghead, suffered discrimination, learned immortality, and rose to immortality. Finally, he was shot and killed by a little monk who built 5 bases. Fight with me, just fight with a flashlight, Yekong snorted coldly, and his big hand fluttered. Broken Immortal Road immediately turned into a green light and shrank into his body, leaving a green tattoo on the back of his hand. Wang Tingshi seemed to be petrified and looked at it all with embarrassment. It's incredible, is he really Li Heeze? His Bao turned out to be Jupingxian Bao. God, am I hearing this wrong? But even if I heard it wrong, I didn't read it wrong. One arrow, just one arrow, destroys all the immortals and his 100 avatars. In this world, I am afraid that only Jupingxian can achieve this effect. When she was in a bun, someone had already taken Yamamoto Jianren Sanpan Xianjian. No matter what, this is Xianjian. I got Xianjian for the first time. Yekong found that he was more impressed by getting Xianjian than he was breaking Xianxian Road. After all, this was a deadly battle, not as easy as dealing with Luo Zioki. What are you still doing? Go and see if the dog's storage bag is still there. Yekong pulled Wang Tingshi's hand and flew straight towards the valley. In the valley, it has been destroyed. Several broken houses were blown up without any shadows, and the vast area of Xiantian turned upside down. But the most striking thing is the unicorn cloud hoof lying on the ground. Little White, Wang Tingshi immediately burst into tears, and after more than a month of getting along, she already had feelings for this superb beast. Hearing the call, the unicorn cloud hoof struggling to stand up, although he took a few steps, but finally stood still. Little White, Wang Tingshi smiled in tears and hugged the unicorn cloud hoof tightly, but one unconscious animal was not agitated, but looked at the other with a kind of imploring look. Conscience of animals. Well, isn't it the high-end spirit beast Dan? Look at you poor, come, open one and eat one. The unicorn Yunhulan ate a high-level spirit beast Dan and walked away. Wang Tingshi looked at Yekong questioningly. Yekong took her and said, relax, it is looking for a place to practice healing. Oh, Wang Tingshi nodded, and then thought of asking someone, Sword, since you have such a powerful fairy bow, why not use it earlier? Why should Ziobai be so hurt? Yekong scratched his head embarrassedly. I'm using it for the first time. How can I know this guy is so good? Well, don't even think about it, go find the booty. The fairy was killed, but the booty was hard to find. Because Yamamoto Kenran's furious blow and the unicorn cloud hooflan's collision used full force, the explosion was too large, so that Yamamoto Kenran's storage bag was blown up and shattered. The storage bag exploded, and various items and materials therein were fried and shattered, leaving almost nothing behind. Some people say that, according to the reason, the medium golden fairy should be the bottom of the fairyland. He hit it with all his strength. Can he be so powerful? It really is so big. Because the battle is in Kangbei, in the nether. The power of a fairy in the lower realm is much greater than that in the fairy realm. This is why the fairy lower realm is forbidden. If all the fairy people come to fight in the lower realm, the lower realm is likely to be completely destroyed. Of course, Yamamoto Kenran left a relic. It was a golden brand. In such a violent explosion, this golden brand was spared, and it can be seen that it is strong. The golden brand, Jingguangcancan, was particularly eye-catching in the sun. Yekong picked it up and saw 5 golden characters Oriental Immortal Palace engraved on it. On the reverse side of the brand, there is an 18-pin fairy of which seems to be Yamamoto Kenran's famous brand. Yekong faintly felt that this was not a good thing. If an immortal is killed, there is still an immortal who has a position, that is, in a mortal country, an official is dead and it is necessary to investigate. But what to do with this brand? Destruction can't be destroyed. Where can I hide it? Yekong had no choice but to put the brand into the storage bag first. Then came the search for fairy grass. Those immortal grasses that may emit fairy tales may be useful in the future. Yekong dug one and put it in a storage bag. But think about it, it's useless. These fairy grasses are not spirit grasses. They need to be cultivated by fairy jade. In this case, there is no need to collect it. He originally wanted to dig Taniguchi's wicked grass into 2 plants. Now it seems that it is useless to dig it out. Then there is Yamamoto Kenran was shot dead by broken immortal road. The spirits have all dissipated, it is impossible to collect his soul. Fortunately, there is still a lot of immortality in the valley. This is a good thing. Yekong has long wanted to absorb it, just because Yamamoto has never dared to it. Now that Yamamoto is dead, he hastened to start meditating. Before the fascination is gone, take a bit more and don't waste it. When Yekong sat down and took a look at Chi-Hai with internal vision, he was startled. He wasn't alarmed that the half of the circle of fairy air surrounding Chi-Hai had only half left. This was normal, and the other half was just used to condense the arrows. He was panicked that the 5-colored spiritual force cyclone in his own sea had deviated greatly from the axis, as if the electric fan that had broken the axis had been distorted. This is what he has been worried about. To the reader. Today is a good brother and brother getting married, recommend his Beggar Emperor. In fact, his book is still good. You can check out the book Shortage and That Honeymoon Reader. Thank you for your support. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 591. 592 Hooligan Habits. Yeling's cyclone shifted. This was what Yekong was most worried about. Therefore, he didn't dare to cultivate any more, and he didn't dare to draw his spirit. But why did it happen? Why is it now? When I broke through to the 5th floor of the foundation before, I also added a lot of auras. At that time, there was no deviation. Why didn't I do anything now, and this phenomenon occurred? Yekong thought about it for a moment, and some understood it. He speculated that it must be related to this layer of fairy air around the spirit cyclone. This circle of immortality is like a protective layer that acts as a fixed layer. After you build the foundation yourself, this circle of immortality is stabilizing the spiritual force cyclone. Looks like it. Because of this circle of fairy chi, the spirit cyclone has been relatively stable. Today, the arrows of fairy chi are condensed and half of the fairy chi is used, so the supporting force of the spiritual force cyclone is weak, so that it deviates. Because of the deflection of the spiritual force cyclone, he found that he was not so smooth in calling spiritual force now. Yekong was taken aback by this discovery. He was not yet immortal. This spiritual power cyclone was his root. If the spiritual power could not be transferred, then he would not dare to think about the consequences. Quickly absorb the fairy. Fortunately, there is still fairy. Get as much as you can. Tighten and stabilize the spirit cyclone. Wang Tingshi, who was standing by the side to protect Yekong's law, saw amazing scenes again. His friend, this immortal, was madly absorbing immortality. God. Am I wrong? Is he actually absorbing the immortal? Is he an immortal or an immortal? Wang Tingshi was about to faint. Her father's fallen ancestor was an amazing figure, and she often told her strange things. But so many bizarre things can't keep up with the bizarre things she saw today. This Lihiza is so bizarre that a fairy cultivator owns 9-pin fairyware, and now he is starting to absorb the fairy chi again. Wang Tingshi really wanted to ask, brother, are you an immortal or an immortal? You say it clearly, you don't bring such a person. Of course, the monks respect the secrets. If people don't say it, she won't find out. Knowing the secrets of others will kill them if they don't make it. It didn't take long for this meditation, and half an hour later, Yekong opened his eyes. But there was no joy on his face. In fact, he should be happy, because with the replenishment of Xianxia, the spiritual force cyclone in his ki returned to its original position, and the spiritual force call returned to normal. He is unhappy because he finds that he can only absorb so much immortality. That is, the original size of a circle of immortality, and then absorbed, it is invalid, how much it sucks, how much disappears there. The remaining immortality always stays on the share of broken fairy road twice. In other words, after the broken fairy road fairy bow, after he uses it once, he must replenish it. If he uses it again for the second time, the cyclone will overturn completely, and the consequences will be disastrous. It seems that in the future, the fairy bow is still less used. The most hateful is that there are so many fairy jade in Yamamoto, all of them are destroyed, otherwise you don't have to worry about nowhere to add fairy chi. Looking at Yekong's poor face, Wang Tingshi thought about it or went up to him and asked, what's wrong? Did you encounter a dilemma? Yekong couldn't help laughing when she looked nervous. But he held back, but said with a stern face, the dog thing is dead, but I always think it's almost there. Wang Tingshi was baffled, what's the difference? Yekong patted his head, I see. We were poorly celebrated, but the excitement were the worst. The two monks of the base construction even killed a middle golden fairy. Shouldn't we celebrate it? Then Wang Tingshi suddenly realized, and laughed, this is true, we really should celebrate to kill the fairy and get a new life. Well, let you call a may die 1,000 times to celebrate, someone said shamelessly. The names and origins of the four great beasts, Yekong has already spoken to Wang Tingshi. So Wang Ting shook her a bit, and immediately blushed, brother Hiza, didn't you say it was a woman, when you shouted? Wang Tingshi said, bowing his head, his face flushed, and it was shameless to scold the black guy in his heart. How could I shout such indecent words? Seeing her shy and moving looks, Yekong smiled close to him, yeah, someone also told me using Yugan, it's better to let that old guy, let me go. No shy, Wang Tingshi finally couldn't stand anymore, and ran away flushed. Only someone left with a shameless smile, in the end it is a hooligan. It has been more than 10 years since I came to Kangnan. The only thing I haven't become is our hooligan breath. They stayed in the valley for a while, and they were ready to go back. Wang Tingshi still did not worry about the unicorn cloud hoof. In fact, Yekong also remembers that thing, but it is a superb beast, much better than Daewoo. If you ride it back to Kangnan, the world is invincible. Yuanying is a bird feather? However, Yekong also knows who plays what kind of bird, that kind of beast is not affordable, and it also has a master. No matter how arrogant he is, he would not dare to provoke Xiandi. Let's go. This high-level spirit beast will go down for at least 1 month, and in the past few days, the Eastern Emperor Palace will send someone to take it to the immortal world. We only stay here for more trouble. Wang Ting was reluctant to give up, but could not do anything but tears and Yekong walking back, but fortunately, there was a small wing bird to accompany. There is no way to go back, but Yekong has a fixed sea plate, which was given to him by all means. He used it to find directions on the Kanghai Sea, and now it is used again. Finding the direction to the south and flew past. Unexpectedly, as soon as I flew for a while, I met humans, still acquaintances. Yu Minghui, with 8 or 9 students in the foundation period, has men and women, elegant men and women's flowering branches, which is the style of Hehuan disciples. Seeing Yu Minghui, Yekong froze for a moment, and immediately thought that the Chalcedony the boy was looking for was the 8th achievement in Kangbei. Seeing Yekong, Yu Minghui and others immediately greeted him. Before Yu Minghui spoke, he heard a female disciple behind him whisper, "This is not Heartless and Heartless, I heard that he and his fallen daughter ran off to Kangbei. It still seems true. It doesn't matter if Yekong is criticized, but Wang Tingshi is a big girl. Hey, there are some things that are not good to hear. I and Wang Tingshi are innocent. Why don't you wait for random discussions? Yekong is not a good man, but he is really horrified." The woman Chiu was scared to speak. Yu Minghui snorted, "Take care of your mouth," then she smiled back, "Brother Li, I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect you to rise to the 3rd level and congratulate the monarch.